All right, time for a weekly outlook. Well, last week was pretty eventful. Traded lower, significantly lower. To start the week, Wednesday, buying stepped in at near the lows. Thursday, balance day, and then Friday, Jackson Hole. Basically traded back up to the highs. There's still a relative divergence, pretty big one still. Right? If we're looking at NQ, all we did was retrace, what is that, about 70% back into the single prints from the Tuesday sell-off. ES traded basically back up to the highs, pretty close to the highs. And the main focus to start the week, it's hard to say like what I want to see by the end of the week, but the main focus to start the week is going to be Friday's upper distribution. It's Friday's main distribution. The move up was really, really quick. Once we got up, all we did was trade sideways up here. On ES, it's pretty clear as to why or sort of where, which was sort of the bulk of this prior 3-day or was it 4-day balance up here. So that's going to be my main focus is what do we do up against this, the 6490s down to the 6460s. Probably look to execute at those extremes. It is kind of weak. We already got one test of it on Friday, 6460 on a quick wick down. Same thing with the NQ level at a 23,510. We already got one test of it. But so I'd love to play it on a reclaim. We have a couple levels below, but I'm not too confident in buying dips below the 6460 or this 23,500 on NQ. Reason being is really just NQ. Is this divergence that NQ, we went into last week, if you guys remember, working with this bigger picture idea of this balance here. We had these three little mini balances down here that we worked with. We sort of used this, sort of those shelves as guidance within this. But the bigger picture idea here is this 500 down to these 800s, 22 800s. At least that's sort of the way I see it. So like trading back into this is to me a real problem, especially from an auction market theory perspective. It's a real problem, I think. And with sort of we already got a test of that. You still have some poor lows down at these 800s. Like I think it's gonna be a pretty swift move back down. Like could we bounce here? Like sure. I really don't want to be aggressive into some of these levels we have. Also have way too many levels. These are just sort of for guidance, just letting me know where we are. Like if we do trade down there, I'm not aggressive on dips at all this week. The only place I'm really looking to execute is this 500s, and I'd be okay if we like trade down here, like being patient and waiting for that reclaim to then get long up against it. If we can do that and like we stay above this 500s, like I think I can be uber bullish at that point. Or if we're just like above Friday's main distribution, I guess I'll just keep pressing longs to some upside targets that we still have on NQ. But this 500s is really putting me off. I know I'm like usually like uber bullish, but we'll see what happens come Monday and sort of see how we establish value up against on ES up against not only Friday's main distribution, but this distribution from the composite profile. And on NQ, I'll probably just likely work with Friday's main distribution. So that's sort of where I'm at. Russell made new highs on the year on Friday. It's pretty crazy for them. Don't know if there's a play for me to make here at this point. Like we could get a trade up into these single prints. If the single prints hold, or if any kind of dip hold, then we can trade back into Friday's upper distribution. Same, I guess remain bullish. But yeah, that's just everything I'm basing at least my initial trade bias and sort of feel for next week based on how we work up against this upper distribution. That's really all I have to say for this week's outlook. It's really not much else. And we talked about this sort of like my reluctance towards being bullish on is because of that NQ chart. If we're looking at a daily chart with like some, if we're following like a trend following strategy, like, yeah, you lost your 20-day momentarily. NQ, you lost your 20-day for a session. Held the 50, held the most recent anchor, or I don't say held, we reclaimed it to close the session both times. If we're looking at this, like this looks phenomenal, right? But especially from an auction market perspective, like it's, at least to me, it's not. I don't know why, I'm just not feeling it. Even though I am usually like uber bullish, so I don't mind if I miss out on like 50 to 100 points up here and let it trade back up, and I'll get involved up here. I'll bypass Friday's highs. I don't mind. So we'll be a little cautious to start the week. We'll let people do their thing, and we'll be waiting patiently. So pretty simple outlook for this week. And yeah, hope you all have a great week.